Stop right now. If you're one of those guys who texts a girl constantly, tries to impress her every day, or bends over backward to make her notice you, you're doing it all wrong. The truth is harsh. But it's time someone told you women don't chase men who chase them. They don't value the guy who's always available, always agreeable, and constantly showing interest. In fact, the more you try to prove you care, the less she sees you as someone worth her attention. And before you get defensive, hear me out. This isn't about manipulation. It's about understanding human psychology and the way attraction really works. Here's the controversial reality. Most men completely misunderstand what women want. They think that showing constant attention equals attraction. They believe that if they buy her gifts, compliment her, or make endless efforts to stay on her radar, she'll fall for them. But this is the exact opposite of what naturally, sparks interest. When you overinvest, you signal one thing: neediness. And nothing kills attraction faster than neediness. Women, consciously or not, are drawn to confidence, independence, and a man who has his own life. This isn't just advice. It's backed by observation of countless interactions. The men who seem unavailable or uninterested, ironically, are often the ones women notice most. Let me make this crystal clear. This isn't about being cold or cruel. This isn't about ignoring women to play some childish game. It's about learning the power of restraint. When you stop constantly trying to win her over, you stop giving away your emotional power. You stop becoming the guy she takes for granted. And here's the kicker. The less she sees you chasing her, the more curious she becomes. Her mind starts asking questions. Why isn't he texting me all the time? Why doesn't he need my attention to be happy? And curiosity, my friend, is the first spark of attraction. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but if I don't show her interest, won't she think I don't care? This is the exact trap men fall into. Let me explain the difference between showing interest smartly and being desperate for attention. Showing interest is subtle. It's consistent in a low-key, confident way. Being desperate is loud, obvious, and emotionally unbalanced. The first attracts, the second repels. And here's the controversial truth. Most guys never learn this because society encourages them to believe the exact opposite. You're told to go all in to impress her when what you really need to do is pull back, focus on your life, and let her notice you without forcing it. Think about it. Who do you notice first in a room? The person clinging to everyone else's attention? Or the one who's calm, confident, and doing their own thing? Exactly. Women work the same way. A man who's constantly available loses value in her eyes because attraction isn't built on chasing. It's built on independence, mystery, and challenge. And yes, this is controversial because it goes against everything society tells men about relationships. You're not supposed to be hard to get. You're supposed to be genuine, right? But here's the hard truth. Being genuine doesn't mean being a doormat. There's a line between honesty and overexposure, and most men cross it without even realizing it. Here's another truth most men refuse to accept. The moment you stop showing excessive interest, things begin to change. Conversations become more engaging. She starts wondering about you, and suddenly she's putting effort into connecting with you. Why? Because human nature craves balance. People value what they have to earn, and attention that comes too easily loses all weight. You've been handing her attention on a silver platter, and she's gotten used to it. Pull back, and suddenly your value skyrockets. By the end of this video, I'm going to break down exactly how to stop showing interest in ways that kill attraction while still being confident, respectful, and intriguing. You'll learn the psychology behind why women prefer men who seem uninterested and how you can naturally become that kind of man. No tricks, no games, just understanding, adjustment, and a shift in mindset that most men are too stubborn to make. So, if you're ready to stop being the guy who's desperate for her attention and start being the man she can't stop thinking about, pay attention. This is going to be controversial. It's going to challenge what you've believed about attraction your whole life, but it's also the wake-up call you need. Because right now, if you're chasing her, she's probably not chasing you. And that's the truth most men refuse to face. Here's the brutal truth most men refuse to face. The more you chase, the less she notices you. It's simple psychology. When a man makes himself available all the time, texts endlessly, agrees with everything she says, and constantly seeks her approval, he signals one thing: neediness. And neediness is the ultimate turnoff. Women are wired to notice confidence, independence, and challenge. Think about it. You don't feel drawn to someone who clings to your every word, do you? You notice the person who has their own life, who doesn't bend over backward to impress you and who isn't emotionally dependent on your validation. It's the same principle with women. The men who seem unavailable, the ones who have priorities outside of her attention, are the ones who naturally trigger curiosity and interest. This isn't about being cold or pretending you don't care. It's about understanding the balance between availability and independence. If you give too much too soon, you remove all sense of challenge. You make yourself predictable, and predictability kills excitement. Attraction isn't built on certainty, it's built on attention, a push and pull that keeps her mind engaged. Let me give you a scenario to make this crystal clear. Imagine two guys at a coffee shop, both interested in the same woman. The first guy texts her constantly, reacts immediately to every message, and agrees to every plan she suggests. The second guy responds in his own time, keeps his weekends booked with his own activities, and doesn't bend over backward to please her. Who do you think she finds more intriguing? The second guy. Not because he's playing a game, but because he has a life she can't control or predict. She sees his time and attention as valuable, and suddenly her mind starts paying attention to him in a way it never did for the first guy. Men often make the mistake of equating attention with affection. They think the more attention they give, the more they're loved. But the reality is the opposite. The more attention you give freely and constantly, the less valuable it becomes. Imagine handing someone $100 every day. Eventually, it loses all weight. Attraction works the same way. Attention that comes too easily becomes invisible. But attention that is earned, that requires a little curiosity and effort, feels rare, valuable, and exciting. That's why a man who seems less interested naturally creates attraction. This is why you've probably noticed women suddenly becoming interested when you pull back. It's not magic, it's human nature. When you stop chasing, you stop lowering your value. You stop broadcasting desperation. Instead, you become the kind of man who has options, who lives life on his terms, and who doesn't revolve around a single woman's approval. And guess what? That kind of man is exactly the one women notice, and sometimes even compete for. Here's another key point. Overshowing interest creates pressure. When a man constantly seeks attention, texts nonstop, or begs for validation, it creates an unspoken burden. She starts to feel responsible for your emotions, which kills any spark of attraction. Women are drawn to confidence, not emotional dependence. They want a man who can handle his own life, who has a purpose, and who doesn't require constant reassurance. By overinvesting, you're sending the opposite message. You're saying, I need you to feel good about me. That's not attractive. Attraction is subtle. It's not about grand gestures or constant proof of care. It's about presence, quality, and mystery. When you step back, focus on your life, and stop proving yourself, you automatically become more appealing. She starts to notice small details, your sense of humor, the way you carry yourself. You create tension without trying, and tension is what drives interest. One of the biggest mistakes men make is thinking they have to be consumed by the woman's world to win her over. This is the exact trap you need to escape. Instead of losing yourself in her, maintain your life, your friends, your hobbies, and your goals. Let her see that your attention is valuable because it's not endless. When she notices that you're not constantly at her disposal, it sparks a natural curiosity that no amount of texting or gifts can create. The takeaway here is simple but controversial. Stop trying so hard to be noticed. Stop showing constant interest. Stop bending over backward to prove you care. Instead, focus on your life. Maintain boundaries and let your presence be felt without overexposure. Women are drawn to men who have their own priorities, not those who make her their sole focus. Once you understand this principle, attraction shifts in your favor effortlessly. By learning this, you're not becoming manipulative, you're becoming self-aware. You're learning the difference between chasing validation and earning respect. And in the world of attraction, respect is far more powerful than attention. Let's get real for a moment. Most men make one critical mistake. They become predictable. They make themselves an open book, easy to read, easy to understand, and unfortunately, easy to overlook. The problem isn't that they care. It's that they care too much in the wrong way. When you constantly show interest, when your life revolves around her reactions, you remove any sense of mystery. And without mystery, there's no intrigue, no curiosity, no spark. Think about it. Who catches your attention more? The person who's always there, always agreeing, always predictable, or the one who lives life on their own terms and doesn't revolve around you? You know the answer. And women are wired the same way. They are drawn to men who have depth, purpose, and independence, men who have boundaries, men who are comfortable being themselves without needing validation. That's the kind of presence that makes a woman stop and notice. Here's the part most men refuse to accept. You don't need to try harder to make her like you. Trying harder is exactly what makes you less interesting. Instead, focus on living fully, pursuing your goals, and enjoying your own life. When you're busy with your own passions, your own ambitions, and your own priorities, you create natural intrigue. Women notice a man who is whole on his own. They notice the confidence that comes from being comfortable alone, from being self sufficient, from not needing constant approval. Relate to this for a second. You've probably been in situations where a girl seems distant or uninterested, and your first instinct is to double down, text more, compliment more, ask for her attention more. But here's the truth. Every time you do that, you lower your value in her eyes. It's not about being cold, it's about letting your value speak for itself. When you maintain independence, she sees that your time and attention are limited, that your life is not built around her. And suddenly she starts to pay attention, not because you demanded it, but because you've become someone intriguing. Another reality, most men think being available is attractive. They believe responding immediately, rearranging their schedule, and proving they care is the way to her heart. It's not. In fact, being constantly available removes the tension that creates desire. Attraction thrives on subtle challenge, on curiosity, and on the knowledge that a man's attention is valuable. When you're too easy to reach, too quick to react, too eager to please, that value disappears. You might relate to this feeling. You meet someone you like, and at first everything seems fine. But over time, as you show more attention than necessary, something changes. Conversations feel flat. She becomes less responsive. That excitement that was once there fades. Why? Because you've made yourself too easy to understand, too predictable. You've removed the elements that create intrigue. And without intrigue, attraction diminishes. Independence isn't about ignoring her or being rude. It's about having a life that isn't dependent on her reactions. It's about enjoying your hobbies, building your career, nurturing friendships, and pursuing goals without needing her validation. When you do this, you naturally command respect. You naturally become a man who is noticed, not a man who begs to be noticed. And here's the controversial part most men hate hearing. The less you chase, the more she invests. When you stop over communicating, when you stop proving yourself constantly, she starts wondering about you. She starts putting effort into understanding who you are. She starts to seek your attention instead of the other way around. This doesn't happen because you're playing games. It happens because you shifted the balance. You've stopped giving everything away and started letting her curiosity work in your favor. Relate to this one more time. Imagine being with a man who has his own life, who doesn't need to constantly ask for your attention, who is secure, confident, and independent. That feeling of intrigue, that spark of curiosity, is exactly what women notice and are drawn to. It's subtle, but it works every time. So the key takeaway is this: stop being predictable. Stop trying so hard. Stop showing constant interest. Live your life fully, maintain independence, and let your value naturally create attraction. Mystery isn't about secrecy, it's about presence, purpose, and the confidence to let your attention be earned rather than given freely. Once you grasp this, everything changes. Women stop being distant, they start noticing. Conversations become engaging, interactions feel alive, attraction becomes natural. Let's be brutally honest. Most men are completely asleep when it comes to attraction. They think showing constant interest is impressive. They think bending over backward, agreeing to everything, and giving all their time away makes them desirable. And this is exactly why so many guys get ignored, friend-zoned, or left confused about why she lost interest. It's time to wake up. This isn't about blaming women. It's about recognizing your own mistakes and taking responsibility for how you show up. Here's the truth. Most men refuse to see. Chasing women like a desperate puppy doesn't make you attractive. It makes you predictable and low value. And society has reinforced this lie for far too long. You've been told to be nice, be attentive, always show you care. But what no one tells you is that there is a fine line between being genuine and being desperate. Crossing that line is exactly what keeps you invisible, keeps your effort unnoticed, and keeps you stuck in a cycle of frustration. Think about the men around you, the ones she notices. They're not perfect, they're not flawless, but they have one thing most guys lack: independence. They have their own priorities, their own lives, their own challenges. And because they're not glued to a woman's every move, they're interesting. They have tension, they have unpredictability, they have presence. Meanwhile, most men waste time over texting, over explaining, and over investing. And the sad part, they wonder why she doesn't care as much as they do. Here's a wake up call: your attention is valuable. If you hand it out freely, constantly, and without boundaries, you devalue yourself. It's as simple as that. A woman will notice a man who has his own life before she notices the man who has none. She will respect a man who doesn't need her validation before she respects the one who depends on it. And yet, so many men refuse to see this. They continue playing the role of the eager pursuer, thinking effort equals attraction. It doesn't. It never has. You can relate to this because you felt it yourself. You've seen a girl pull away the moment you start giving too much. You've felt the frustration of putting in time, energy, and attention and receiving nothing in return. And here's the part most men hate hearing: you're the one allowing it to happen. You're the one over-investing in someone who isn't investing equally. You're the one chasing validation instead of living your life. And until you wake up and shift your approach, nothing changes. This isn't about playing games. It's about reclaiming your power. Stop making her the center of your universe. Stop rearranging your life to match her schedule. Stop over-explaining your intentions. Instead, focus on being a man who commands attention without asking for it. When you stop chasing, something interesting happens. She starts to notice you. She starts to wonder why you're not reacting the way she expected. And that curiosity, that spark, that's where attraction is born. Let me be clear: independence doesn't mean ignoring her completely. It doesn't mean pretending you don't care. It means balancing attention with self-respect, keeping your priorities in order, and refusing to be consumed by someone else's approval. A man who has boundaries is attractive. A man who has purpose is irresistible. And a man who doesn't chase blindly, that's a man women pay attention to, sometimes more than you ever imagined. The criticism here is simple: too many men are asleep. Too many men are weak in the ways that matter, and too many men are wasting their value on chasing attention that isn't earned. Wake up. Stop overinvesting. Stop making yourself predictable. Stop giving away your time, energy, and presence for free. And start building a life that makes women take notice. Not because you demand it, but because your value is undeniable. Here's the harsh but necessary truth: if you keep chasing without boundaries, you'll continue to be overlooked. She won't see your effort as love or care. She'll see it as desperation. And nothing kills attraction faster than desperation. The only way to change this is to shift your mindset, reclaim your independence, and recognize that attraction is drawn to confidence, not effort. So, men, it's time to wake up. Stop playing by the old rules that don't work. Stop showing constant interest. Stop trying to impress at every turn. Focus on your life, your goals, and your presence. Let her curiosity, respect, and attention come naturally. The moment you do this, everything changes. Conversations become more engaging. Interactions feel alive. And the attraction that was missing, it finally shows up. Not because you begged for it, but because you stopped chasing it. Here's the truth: most men will never admit out loud if you're constantly chasing her, she's probably not interested. And no amount of effort on your part will change that. And that's the hard reality you need to face today. Most men are too scared to hear this because it cuts straight through the comforting lies we've been told our entire lives. You've been told that being attentive, over-available, and eager equals attraction. You've been told that showing how much you care will make her value you. And here's the brutal reality: it doesn't. Not really. Some of you might feel angry reading that, and that's okay. You're allowed to feel that. But let me push even further. This isn't just a theory or a guess. This is what I've seen countless times, what I've studied, and what is obvious once you wake up to the dynamics of attraction. Most men waste months, even years, putting effort into women who barely notice them because they misunderstand the rules. They think persistence equals love. They think attention equals value. They couldn't be more wrong, and that's the controversial truth. In today's world, chasing a woman often guarantees you'll be overlooked, not rewarded. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's harsh. Isn't this mean? No, it's not mean. It's necessary. Sometimes the most uncomfortable truths are the ones that force growth. If you keep doing what you've always done, you'll keep getting the same results. You'll keep putting yourself out there, over-investing, and wondering why she doesn't reciprocate. You'll keep feeling rejected, frustrated, and undervalued. And the sad part, many men never wake up. They settle into patterns that destroy attraction and keep them trapped in emotional cycles they don't even understand. This is why I want you to take a moment and reflect. How many times have you over communicated, over invested, and over appeased only to get ignored or undervalued? How many times have you bent over backward trying to prove your worth while she barely noticed your effort? These aren't failures, they're lessons. And the lesson is simple: stop chasing, stop over showing interest, stop making yourself easy to predict. When you reclaim your time, your energy, and your presence, everything changes. Here's the controversial part: the men who stop chasing, the men who focus on themselves, and the men who value their own time over validation, they are the ones women notice. They are the ones who create intrigue, spark curiosity, and command respect. And most men will never see it because they're too busy trying to prove they care. If you don't believe me, look around. Observe the dynamics in your own life. Notice the men who seem unavailable yet attract attention effortlessly. That's not coincidence. That's psychology, plain and simple. Now, I want to challenge you directly. Stop thinking about attraction as a game of effort and prove your worth. Start thinking about it as a reflection of your value, your time, your attention, your energy. They are not infinite. Don't give them away to someone who won't notice, respect, or appreciate them. When you stop chasing, you stop begging. When you stop begging, you stop lowering your value. And when your value rises, attraction rises naturally. It's that simple. Yet so many men refuse to act on it. Here's what I want you to do next. Comment below with your experiences. Tell me when you felt ignored despite putting in effort. Tell me how it made you feel. I want to hear your stories because this isn't just a lecture, it's a conversation. I will read your comments and I will respond. This is a chance to connect, to learn from each other, and to start seeing attraction from a completely different perspective. Let me leave you with one last controversial truth. If you keep over-investing in women who aren't invested in you, you're the reason you're stuck. Nobody else is holding you back. Not society, not women. You are. And the sooner you face that reality, the sooner you can shift your life. Stop chasing what doesn't respect your attention. Stop bending over backward for validation that isn't coming. Start focusing on yourself, your goals, your passions, and your independence. Do that, and the attention, respect, and intrigue you've been chasing will follow naturally without you begging for it. This is uncomfortable. It's controversial, but it's the wake-up call you've been avoiding. Take it seriously, act on it, and share your story below. Let's talk. Let's connect.